the go-to spot for deep dives and insider theories surrounding the Brown family. What you're about to hear is a story that has been simmering just below the surface. A narrative stitched together from whispers, financial clues, and legal speculation that might explain everything. It all began with the book that catapulted them from a niche reality show to a global phenomenon, Christine had said. We wanted to share our story with the world. We felt it was important. The story made them hold names. It also made them rich. But in explosive new claims, a suit now accuses the man at the center of stealing the profits behind the scenes. This is much more than a family brawl. What we are witnessing is purported intellectual property theft, financial deception, and a betrayal so profound that it will destroy the Brown dynasty once and for all. What we are about to dissect is one of the most shocking theories to emerge from this family's breakdown. If you've thought the divorces were jaw-dropping, hold on to your seat. Before we dive into the evidence, contracts, and secret accounts, do me a quick one. If you like these types of in-depth dives, give me a like. It tells YouTube to send more content like this your way. And if you haven't joined the crew yet, subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss one update on this developing story. Okay, team, get ready. Let's get started. To truly appreciate the gravity of this lawsuit, we must go back in time. The Browns were riding high. Sister Wives was booming on TLC. They had managed to escape Utah, navigate legal challenges, and create what seemed like heaven in a suburban Las Vegas, cul-de-sac to fans. They were the outside, the box neighbors down the street. And folks couldn't turn away. The concept to create Becoming Sister Wives was, from a marketing perspective, genius. It expanded the brand impeccably. The book allowed them to have a handle on their story, an opportunity to describe their religion, their history, their envy, and their happiness. It was their unvarnished, unedited tale. The success of the book was immediate and massive. Being a New York Times bestseller wasn't a matter of vanity. By golly, it paid. A new source of income, independent of TLC salaries, it was their work. And that is the crux, the intellectual property. Consider this, what was the book really selling? Not Kody's entrepreneurial acumen or Robyn's trinkets. It was the real-life experiences of 4 women. Meri's pain as the first wife, wrestling with law and emotions, while new wives joined. Janelle's independence and her unusual path from sister, in-law to sister wife. Christine's dream of a plural family, rooted in her faith, but full of struggle as the third wife. And Robyn, the newcomer whose presence ignited much of the drama in the early years. Every wife brought her most precious things, her life, her trauma, her faith, her memories, her heart. According to what sources there are, originally in the publishing agreement, it was stipulated clearly an equal partnership. 4 wives, 1 husband, 5 authors, 5 equal parts of profit based on their common lives. And for a time, that arrangement held. Book income filtered into the family's general account, being used for mortgages, bills, and supporting 18 children. In a multi-household family, money blurs, and no one batted an eye. The money was everyone's, and the family was one. But what happens when the oneness is gone, when there is no trust? Suddenly, dollars that had once represented collective success are now being used as a weapon, and whoever is in charge of the account has the power. That is when the cracks started to emerge. The power shift began, and everything started to change. This is where our examination of these insider reports becomes particularly fascinating. The claimed theft isn't isolated to a single book. It is about a gradual and calculated takeover of financial might, and at the very center of it all is one solitary dark presence, an LLC by the name of Dabzark. Dabzark. What a name in and of itself. An acronym constructed from letters representing family members: Dayton, Aurora, Brianna, Solomon, Ariella, and Kody. See who is not here: each of the original 13 children and all 3 of the first wives. It was friends and family members who had long intimated that Dabzark was a significant turning point. Outwardly, it was presented as a means of streamlining business. In private, though, Christine and Janelle began to see it as something much more sinister. Legal means by which Kody supposedly cut them out and redirected resources toward his lifestyle with Robyn. Now, let's get clear. Family LLCs are normal, particularly in the world of reality television. They shield assets and simplify taxes. But the foundation of an equitable partnership is openness and mutual control. Who has signing power? Who gets to tap into the money? Who gets to say where the money goes? At the heart of this alleged lawsuit are allegations that Kody supported by Robyn established Dabzark as a company where only he had signatory authority. He and only he could withdraw and deposit funds. The wives who had always practiced partnership were purportedly relegated to being dependents, forced to go hat in hand to their husband for money rightfully theirs. And this is when the book royalties come back into the equation. Recall that initial publishing agreement, the one that listed all 5 as equal co-authors. Sources say that mere months after the book's enormous popularity, a critical and clandestine amendment was submitted. An addendum was sent to the publisher. This document, what we'll call the Royalty Redirection Addendum, allegedly told the publisher to stop paying the authors directly and instead deposit all future royalties into the Dabzark LLC account. The most damning aspect, the addendum, the theory went, bore only one signature, Kody Brown's. Christine, Janelle, and by extension, probably Meri as well, never knew about the switch. They thought the money continued to pour into the collective family pot, paying mortgages, bills, and everyday expenses. They were busy raising children, taping the show, and dealing with their complicated lives. They left the finances up to their husband, trusting that everything was divided equally. They didn't realize that with a single autograph, the foundation of their financial union had been redefined, separating them from their own wages. It was a coup in silence, conducted with a pen, and it would be years before they would know the extent of the betrayal. So how did a secret this large remain under wraps for almost a decade? The answer is straightforward: control. So long as Kody controlled the money and the narrative, there was no way to confirm anything. Bills were paid, allowances were provided, and on the surface it seemed like a functional system, even if it was strained. But the relocation of the family from Las Vegas to Flagstaff was the turning point. It ravaged their financial stability and amplified underlying frustrations. The fantasy of one big house in Coyote Pass ended and was substituted with broken homes, increasing debt, and a patriarch who spent almost all his time in one wife's house. This was when Janelle and Christine really felt the squeeze acutely. Janelle, no frills, was living in an RV on the property, attempting to save money and transition into building. Christine was trapped in a home she despised, in a city she didn't desire, more and more feeling like a divorced single mom. They were scraping and sacrificing, while Kody and Robyn were living in a $1 million house. The disparity was becoming too glaring to be overlooked. The theory opines that Christine's first genuine red flag was when she was separating from Kody. As she started decoupling herself legally and financially, suddenly she needed concrete evidence of her earnings to get a mortgage in Utah. She had her checks from TLC, and she had her MLM earnings. What about the book? She knew it was a bestseller. She knew it continued to sell year after year. It was a reliable, if lesser, trickle of passive income that was rightfully hers partially. So she began asking questions. As told by sources, Kody's reaction was evasive. He reportedly dismissed her, saying the book never earned much in years, and whatever it did earn got rolled back into family costs. Rather than taking her request to see financial records like a serious question from a spouse, he reportedly took it as a challenge of his authority. For Christine, this was the moment of truth. It wasn't about being emotionally ignored anymore. It was about dignity. It was about the nauseating realization that she could have been economically taken advantage of for years. This is where Janelle comes in. Christine confided in her, and it hit a chord. Janelle, the family's accounting person, the one who had always brought money into the family, began to look at her own financial situation more closely. She saw that she had no transparency into the Dabzark accounts either. She, too, had simply trusted Kody. Collectively, Christine and Janelle realized they required legal assistance. Not only for divorce proceedings, but for a financial audit. They wanted to look at the books. They wanted to track the money. And what they reportedly discovered was a 10-year game of manipulation and deceit that ran far greater than they could have envisioned. Construction of the case, the legal structure. When Christine and Janelle walked into an attorney's office, they weren't just carrying betrayal with them. They had a powerful legal argument. The suit, according to experts in law, would rest on 2 fundamental charges: fraud and conversion. Let's divide it up. Fraud is defined by law as intentional misrepresentation for illegal or unjust gain. To establish it, Christine and Janelle's attorneys would have to demonstrate false impersonation. Kody held himself out as the family's money manager, allegedly acting in everyone's best interest, and secretly making changes to contracts and diverting funds. The falsehood was concealed by omission. He never revealed the altered payment arrangement. Knowledge of falsity, he was aware that he was the sole signer of the addendum, and that he was depositing the funds into an account over which he had sole control. Intent to deceive, the secrecy was for one reason: to make the wives think the original deal still held so they would not claim their share. Justifiable reliance, the wives, due to their lengthy history and trust established in a plural marriage, reasonably relied on him to deal with the money fairly. Resulting damages, that misplaced trust cost them money. Royalty payments they rightfully deserved over a decade. It is easier to convert. In civil law, it is equivalent to theft. It is taking the property of another and appropriating it for yourself. The property here was the royalty money. By transferring Christine's and Janelle's royalty share to the Dabzark account and spending it on his and Robyn's home, Kody was, by law, converting their property. Those royalties weren't a gift to him, they were earned money. Each writer had a Bijfinja Arshamau's hair, or if you divide the wives' share differently, Bijfinja Arshawu, each of the Bijfinja Basha of the women's. Either way, their portions were theirs. Stealing that money from us without our permission is conversion. So the lawsuit, if pursued, wouldn't be a tantrum in disguise. It would be an engineered legal complaint based on well-done established business and property law principles. The case, in its essence, is straightforward and heart-breaking. We were partners. We collaborated to create a valuable asset, and then behind our backs, our partner modified the terms and seized our portion of the profits. That one allegation reshapes the entire saga of the Brown family's later life. The Coyote Pass fights, the endless battles over Kody's time, the disequilibrium among households. This lawsuit would claim those weren't merely the inevitable consequences of a fractured plural marriage. They were direct consequences of an intentional fraudulent plan to enrich one slice of the family at everyone else's loss. The contract and the secret addendum. There is always that one moment in every great courtroom drama. In this instance, that would be when the plaintiffs reveal Exhibit A, the publishing contract. Imagine the scene: a Flagstaff courtroom, Christine and Janelle with their team of lawyers, Kody and Robyn on the other side, tension hanging in the air. The lawyer for the plaintiff stands up. Your Honor, we introduce into evidence the original publishing contract for Becoming Sister Wives, signed in Nyanseni Sharar. The agreement is unambiguous. 5 codes and authors, not Kody and his wives, not some corporate umbrella. 5 distinct names, each signed as an equal owner, under law of publishing that qualifies each of them for Bijfinja Arsher of the royalties. Kody's defense, we can imagine, would rely heavily on the sojan called family pot. He'd insist that this was always the arrangement, that as patriarch he was charged with bringing home all income streams for the good of the household. He'd say the money paid for mortgages, utilities, and raising children. And then there is the document Kody didn't want anyone to read. Now, Your Honor, the attorney goes on, we show you Exhibit A, an addendum to the original agreement, 8 months after publication, and that, as it turns out, is the kill shot. Finally, Christine and Janelle step up to testify. Miss Brown, the attorney asks Christine, had you ever laid eyes on this addendum prior to this lawsuit? No. Did you ever approve Kody Brown signing on your behalf, or redirecting your income into an LLC you did not own? Absolutely not. The same questions are asked of Janelle. The same responses are given. This is the essence of the fraud charge. Kody wasn't merely handling money. He purportedly misrepresented his authority to the publisher itself, essentially taking control of properties that were never his. He purportedly took a power of attorney that his wives never gave, and in the unforgiving language of contract law, family pot logic carries no weight. All that matters are signatures on paper. And here, the missing signatures, Meri's, Janelle's, Christine's, and even Robyn's, tell their own story of unilateral control and shattered trust. A contract that once symbolized partnership now stands as Exhibit A of betrayal. And that is just the paperwork. The real extent of the harm doesn't come into view until you follow the money itself. Tracing the money. Thanks for being back with Reality Recap. We've just discussed the calamitous legal theories surrounding Christine and Janelle's purported lawsuit against Kody, focused on the undisclosed contract amendment. But in the end, a contract is merely paper. To view the true extent of the supposed thievery, you need to follow the money, from the publisher's bank account to where it ends up. And that is when the next exhibit enters the scene. Exhibit B, the trail of money. In this case, the case would require forensic accountants. What would they do? Create an unmistakable, unquestionable map of every last dollar of royalty revenue for a decade, correlating royalty statements with the payments. This is Exhibit B, the money trail of the whole scheme. The prosecution would begin by subpoenaing a decade's worth of royalty reports directly from the publisher. Gallery Books, a division of Simon & Schuster. These official business records can't be manipulated by reading between lines or fanciful accounting. They record precisely how much the book made, quarter by quarter, year by year. The attorney lays out the figure. Your Honor, between the years 2012 and 2022, Becoming Sister Wives netted $350,482 in royalties. The courtroom gasps. It is a big number. In accordance with the initial deal, Christine and Janelle each were supposed to get 20%. That is $70,096 each, for a total of $140,192. Then the other half of the equation. The prosecution presents bank statements, Dabzark LLC accounts side by side with Christine and Janelle's individual statements, discovered through discovery. A forensic accountant gets on the stand to track down the money. The flow chart is catastrophe. Easy to follow. Income $350,482 goes from the publisher directly into the Dabzark account. Outflow, the accountant plots where it ends up. Mortgage payments on Kody and Robyn's home, auto loans, credit cards full of personal expenses, big unexplained cash withdrawals, spotty payouts to wives. And then the accountant demonstrates the trickle of money to Christine and Janelle. Janelle received $9,800 over 10 years. Christine, $9,150. The lawyer pauses to let that sink in. So, to be clear, the lawyer says, out of the $140,192 my clients should have received, they were paid less than $20,000 total. That is correct, the accountant replies. This is the point when contract disputes disappear and the situation becomes clear. Cut theft figures don't lie. For a period of a decade, Kody Brown supposedly appropriated more than 85% of the royalties that belonged to Christine and Janelle and spent them on himself and Robyn. He didn't put the money to work for the family. He didn't save it for the children's futures. He incorporated it into his own finances. The family pot defense is gone in an instant. A family pot suggests sharing. It suggests openness. This wasn't a pot. This was a piggy bank, and only Kody knew where to strike it. The papers tell the tale. The contract, the hidden addendum, the bank statements. A direct line connects partnership to deceit to stealing. At this juncture, the only remaining question would be, what will the judge rule? The case is exposed. 10 years of betrayal quantified in dollars and cents, pain translated into a monetary amount. But the fight is far from over. Kody Brown would still need to stand before a judge and explain himself. And a judge would have to make a decision, one that could bring justice to the wives or maintain the patriarch's untrammeled power. The verdict and its stunning aftermath remain in Part 2. Earlier on our Reality Recap special report, we broke the explosive lawsuit theory that promises to destroy the Brown family. Christine and Janelle, brandishing documents, purportedly sued Kody and Robyn for swiped book royalty payments. We analyzed Exhibit A, the hidden addendum that diverted payments, and Exhibit B, the money trail, where over $350,000 went into Kody's LLC, with fewer than $20,000 going to the actual co-authors. The evidence is damning. And now, the story continues. Welcome back to Reality Recap. If you're just joining us, check out Part 1 for the full backstory on this incredible theory. We're diving into the alleged lawsuit between Christine and Janelle and Kody Brown over profits from their best-selling book. We've examined the evidence. Now it's time for the courtroom. A patriarch gets tried, Kody on the witness stand. This is what all of us Sister Wives fans have been waiting for. Kody Brown sworn in, being held accountable for what he has done with no exit strategy. open to him to storm out, deflect, or blame his wives. This would be the headliner in our fictional trial. Imagine Kody on the stand, a neatly wrinkle-free suit, hair immaculately coiffed. He attempts to look confident, but his leg bobs anxiously under the table. His attorney has probably briefed him, instructed him to be cool and keep to the family pot tale. But Kody's signature characteristics, his ego and his temper, are hard to keep under wraps. Under piercing, systematic questioning, that calm would start to erode. Cross-examination role-play, plaintiff's lawyer. Mr. Brown, you've testified you handled all family finances. Is that correct? Kody, yes, I am the patriarch of the family. I am president of our corporation. The buck stops with me. It was a big responsibility. A burden I accepted for everyone's sake. Attorney, a burden. And as president, you felt you had the right to sign legal documents for the other 4 board members. Correct, Kody? We're a family. There is a patriarch, and he makes the decisions sometimes others don't agree with. Busyness decisions. Attorney, let's discuss one of those decisions. Exhibit a Fady addendum realigning book royalties. Did you meet with Meri, Janelle, Christine, and Robyn, pull out this document, and obtain their approval? Kody, it was an oral agreement. Yes, the money finds its way to the family. I set up an LLC to safeguard the family, to control assets. The most effective method, it is merely paperwork, attorney. So today, under oath, you're stating all 4 wives agreed orally that you could sign their names on a legal document and send by of their own income into an account that they wouldn't have access to. Kody, they didn't need access. They had me. They had to trust me, be loyal. The problem is they ceased being loyal. Christine in particular, she made a vow and broke it. Attorney, so your defense is that your ex-Dan wife isn't worthy of her earnings because she is disloyal? Kody, she is not worthy of benefits from an abandoned family. The money was for the family, the kids developing on Coyote Pass. Attorney, okay, let's examine Exhibit B, the bank statements of Dabsark. Can you point to a line item for the Coyote Pass Building Fund? Because all I see is lifestyle payments for you and Robyn's family. Can you articulate a Wu Bai Meiyuan lingerie store payment as a family benefit? Kody sputtering. That is out of context. A man can purchase a gift for his wife. I'm doing this for the best interest of the family. I've been the whipping boy. I provided them with a lovely life. They disrespect me, make fun of me on television, and now sue me. It is betrayal. And there it is, the old Kody pivot. He becomes the victim attacks when his authority is challenged. But in a courtroom, drama isn't important. Evidence is, under oath, Kody would essentially be confessing to having made a unilateral decision, because he considered himself patriarch. He kept the wives' money not as belonging to them, but as his to control and dispense as he wished. He would not recognize it as theft, only exerting his authority. Kody would consider it his right from above. But the judge would recognize the reality, a textbook instance of conversion and fraud. Following Kody's testimony debacle, the closing arguments would be a formality. Christine and Janelle's attorney would take the judge through the pile of evidence step by deliberate step. Original contract, secret addendum, royalty statements, bank records, and Kody's own testimony on the stand. He would present a stark picture: 2 women who gave their lives to a man and a family, and were systematically cheated by the one person they trusted the most. Kody's defense would be weak, relying on emotional appeals about family unity and patriarchal authority, arguments that hold no weight in court. The judge, a seasoned figure familiar with all manner of family disputes, would not need long to deliberate. Judge, following its consideration of all the evidence, the court is prepared to deliver its verdict. In Brown and Brown versus Brown, on the issue thereof, the court rules in favor of the plaintiffs. Kody Brown is responsible for fraud by intentional misrepresentation and for the tort of conversion. A rush of relief would wash over Janelle and Christine validation justice. But the judge wasn't done yet. Next was the award of money, the real fireworks. Judge, the defendant is ordered to provide restitution to the plaintiffs immediately according to the aggregate royalties of Senbai Wushimeyuan, Nin, and the initial 5 Jan author contract. The wives collectively own and Baifinja Basha Mouse hair, and each plaintiff receives her Baifinja Arshawu of that. Kody Brown is thus ordered to pay Christine and Janelle their due share of all book royalties up to the present time. This comes to a total of 17,500美元, 8,750美元 to Christine, and 8,750美元to Janelle. It is a hefty amount. But the judge continued, tacking on punitive damages for the intentional and malicious misrepresentation, bringing it closer to $250,000. Then he spoke directly to Kody with a verbal admonishment that was more crippling than any monetary fine. According to Courtroom, the judge's words were biting and forceful. The defendant's best asset has always been his wives' tales. He sold their lives, faith, and trauma to the people. He constructed an empire based not on his own endeavors, but on the value of their emotional labor, to then take the profits from the same women whose stories created. That profit is an act of selfish betrayal and theft. A Kojan author has a right to his share, not the leftovers a collaborator chooses to leave behind. This court will not dignify the defendant's patriarchal authority argument. This was not leadership. It was larceny. The judge openly labeled Kody a thief. The embarrassment would be complete for a man whose desire is greatest in respect. Openly labeled a fake and a thief, the judgment was in. Justice had been served, but for the Brown family, the tale didn't end there. Now Kody had to pay. The consequence, paying the piper on Coyote Pass. How does a man notoriously land? Poor raise $250,000. That is where the theory leads to the one valuable asset that the family still retains. Coyote Pass. Kody does not have that money in the bank. TLC money, we're told, is largely spent before it even arrives, servicing the high cost of living and debt for him and Robyn's household. After this judgment, the Dabzark account would be seized and drained, but it likely wouldn't cover the full amount owed. That leaves Kody with one option: liquidating assets. His most valuable holdings? The 2 parcels of land on Coyote Pass. This is the latest and most surprising twist in the saga, just now being reported through property filings and insiders' rumors. Kody Brown could be compelled to sell his share of Coyote Pass in order to satisfy the judgment to the wives he purportedly swindled. The irony is nearly intolerable. The property that was to be an everlasting home, a representation of family togetherness, could be divided and sold to pay debts of earlier deception. Janelle, who lived in an RV on the property and poured her heart into creating it, could soon have strangers for neighbors. Individuals who purchased the patriarch's plot out from under him. And what about Robyn? Her family compound dream of raising her sister wives as next-door neighbors would be irreparably lost. Her own property would be adjacent to strangers, and the alleged money that drove her household for a decade would be what makes the dream implode. It is a karmic justice storm at its best. Our sources are currently tracking the Coconino County property records. Any listing or sale of Kody's parcels would prove this story. A concrete indication that the bill for a decade of fraud has come due at last. The ripple effect, Meri and Robyn. There is no verdict this big that exists in a vacuum. Shockwaves ripple out through the entire family, and 2 women are at the center of it. Meri and Robyn. Meri, in a sense, she is the forgotten victim. Her name was on the initial contract too. She holds 20% of the intellectual property rights to the book by law and was equally cheated. The only difference? At the time of this fictional lawsuit, she was still spiritually married to Kody. The question, will Meri sue on her own? Legally, she can. The precedent is established. The evidence upheld, and her case would be a winner. She is owed $85,500 plus damages. But Meri's case is different. For years, she clung to hope for reconciliation. A lawsuit would be a one-way action, an irreversible cutting off. Now, with her formal breakup, the math changes. Does she require the money without a doubt? Does she sense the greatest betrayal? Absolutely. This ruling puts her in a position of power. She may not even have to sue. A lawyer's letter to Kody might read, "We see you lost. Pay Meri what she is due. Or we'll see you in court for round 2. For a financially and emotionally drained Kody, that warning may be all the motivation she needs to settle. Meri's next step might be the last nail in Kody's economic coffin. Robyn, though not a defendant, she is deeply implicated. The suit accuses Kody of acting under Robyn's direction, and the trail of royalties led to their common household. Public opinion would portray her as, at best, an accomplice, Worst, the mastermind. Legally, the decision falls on Kody, but socially and economically, disaster hits Robyn. Her security is lost. Their lifestyle, supposedly paid for with thieved royalties, no longer works. Designer clothing, upscale home furnishings, an age is ending. Her victimization narrative is now discredited, and she has both economic and reputational repercussions to face. Robyn has always framed herself as a peacemaker, a person committed to maintaining the family as one, but this lawsuit paints a very different picture. It implies that she might have been an accomplice in a scam that financially depleted her sister wives. All of those tearful appeals for family harmony now look different, perhaps a predetermined act to shield a financial deal that paid out to her. Her romance with Kody is at stake. Can their marriage survive it? Kody's ego is bruised, and their finances are in shambles. He will, of course, feel like he is the victim, accusing Christine and Janelle, but some of that will fall on Robyn, the wife, for whom he purportedly set it all in motion. This lawsuit would not only jeopardize Kody's money, it would rock the foundation of his and Robyn's marriage, revealing a union based not only on love, but on the supposed financial exploitation of other wives. The end of an empire, the future of the TLC show. The biggest casualty of this hypothetical legal fight is the show itself. Can sister wives survive after a decision like this? TLC's brand is founded on showing unorthodox family lives. But there is a difference between documenting drama and promoting a convicted fraud. The optics are horrific. Kody, the show's star, has been officially declared a thief, someone who stole from the women whose lives characterize the series. This could set off a huge legal and PR disaster for the network. Contract violations. Reality television contracts typically include morality clauses. A civil fraud judgment would likely breach this, giving TLC grounds to terminate Kody's contract immediately. Hostile work environment. How could Janelle and potentially Meri film alongside a man judicially proven to have stolen from them? The environment would be unworkable. Backlash from the audience. Fans have already generally turned against Kody. Proof of financial exploitation would lead to boycotts, and advertisers would hold back, damaging the show's reputation irreparably. A ruling like this could be the final nail in the coffin for sister wives as we have come to know it. TLC could switch gears to spin-offs on the ex-wives, surviving sister wives or life after Kody. Christine's Cooking with Just Christine might get a wider platform. Janelle's path to independence would make great television. But the original series, which revolves around Kody and his plural family, would be done. The judgment wouldn't merely destroy a family, it could destroy a television dynasty. The empire constructed upon his wives' tales would fall because the constructor had been caught red-handed. Conclusion. The final reckoning. What is left? A riveting, gritty story from years of evidence on the show, fiscal sense, and insider accounts. A tale of a partnership that dissolved into dictatorship. A book that was intended to be a celebration of family life, that ended up as a testament to its financial downfall. If this is actually a lawsuit that proceeds, as reports indicate, it is a reckoning at last. This is not about silly fights over time or emotional abandonment. It is about a hard, cold legal and financial wrongdoing. Christine and Janelle's transformation from committed sister wives to strong, independent women ends with this one courageous act for what is theirs. Christine and Janelle are not merely walking away from a man. They are taking apart his supposed fraudulent empire and taking back their own narratives, literally and financially. Becoming sister wives was supposed to be the tale of an unconventional marriage, but the secret final chapter, uncovered in court papers and bank records, is about an incredibly conventional crime: greed. And with that, today's deep dive is finished. I want to reiterate that the following story is compiled from reports circulating and exclusive theory. However, the way it all fits together makes it difficult to dismiss. Now, let's get some input from you, the reality recap audience. Do you think so? Is this theory likely? Do you think Kody might have pulled off all this deception? What do you think Robyn's involvement was? And maybe most of all, do you think Meri is going to be next in line to sue? Let me know what you are thinking and theorizing in the comments. I read every single comment. Thanks for watching this two-part special investigation with me. If you like this type of in-depth reporting, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with another Sister Wives fan who must watch it. Until we meet again, crew, stay vigilant. The truth is always out there just waiting to be found.